So today I'm just going to do a quick. I want to testify and tell you some things that happened in my life, and I'm really hoping I don't bore you. I don't want to become tiresome or you to get sick of listening to me. But we're going to go through some events in my life that had happened. Welcome back. Like I said, I hope I don't bore you. I don't want to become tiresome, but where to start? I guess I was raised up in a Baptist church most of my life, and when I was about 18-ish, I got married, and then um, it was real quick, and all of a sudden, and did not last, but maybe 6 months, mainly because we were so young, and so that went south pretty quick. I was living in Ohio at the time, and the thing is, I met someone a while later, and that person lived in Arkansas, and so you do a lot of crazy things for love, and so I drove and came all the way to Arkansas from Ohio, and decided to be with her. Had some kids, wonderful kids, best kids that probably ever kid to kid. I don't know what that means, but anyway, things were good. I was doing my best for the Lord. I was in church. I was in a Pentecostal church, and because that's what she went to, and I learned a lot. Got called to preach, and I started working for the Lord. I would go from church to church preaching and doing things. I think that we probably preached all over Arkansas and Oklahoma, some as well. Just going from church to church. I mean, we would have church. The Lord would come down, and I had some really good friends that would let me come and fill in at their church whenever they were out or just as a special. And everything was going just wonderfully. I had my wife and my kids, and um, was preaching, had a job. I worked at a chainsaw factory as a motor tester. I pretty much set carburetors and, um, you know, that was and test the chainsaws to make sure they were adequate to be able to ship. And there was no malfunctions or anything of that nature. But anyway, I'm really hoping I'm not boring you. So after a while, I've been preaching for a while now, and I got an offer to come pastor at a church, which I leaped at. I mean, I leaped at that. I was all over that because I thought an opportunity to be able to preach full time is just wonderful, and uh, to be able to enjoy the ministry and try to help other people, see people saved and ministered to. But before that, I guess I missed one spot. Before that, I'd had back surgery, and they went in and put in two screws and a rod, and um, so yeah. But anyway, I went back to work almost immediately because I had kids and I had a wife, and I wanted to be able to provide for them. So I went back to work at a different job, something I thought would have been easier, and I messed up my back doing that. Well, during that time, I got the offer to pastor the church, and I was enjoying it. I was co-pastoring with a guy, and he things were doing good. I moved to that town and had a different place, and I was enjoying pastoring. But unfortunately, because I went back to work too soon, the screws were loose on my back and it messed it up. And so I had to have another surgery. And whenever that came about, and so I was meeting up with a surgeon, and he told me a couple of things that was very interesting. And the first one was that it was a major surgery. He said it's not like having heart surgery, but it's up there. He said it's pretty major. And the other thing that he had told me was after this, there would, if it messes up again, there's nothing anyone can do. Um, so I knew the severity of the situation of the back at that time, and so I had, I was in pain. I was being tortured. I mean, it felt like being tortured by the pain, and so I had to have the surgery, and they cut out the back of the vertebrae, put in 4 screws, 2 pins, and a rod, and afterwards, I had met with the. It wasn't actually the surgeon; it was someone that worked for the surgeon, a doctor that was working for the same office. But anyway, he had told me, that you're disabled now. There is no going back to work because he actually told me this. Um, there's no going back to work. So I lost that. I lost my ability to be able to provide for my family, which was detrimental to me because I kind of was old school. I felt responsible for that. And so during that time, uh, I had to get on disability, and that's what the actual guy, my father was even there, and the guy actually told me that. He said um, that I it would be in my best interest to get on disability because I'm not going to be able to work anymore. Because if I mess it up again, well, that's the end of the road. There's nothing no one can do to help. So uh, that's what I did. But anybody who knows about that process is very long, very tedious, and it takes a lot of convincing them to do it, especially when you're young. And at the time, I was youngish. So it takes a lot of convincing to be able to persuade them in the fact that, okay, I am disabled, and I actually had to go before a judge. Once they saw me, and saw the condition and the files and everything, it was given. But before that, I didn't have any money. You don't have any money because you can't work now. I have 2 kids. Well, 3. 2 that were mine, and a wife. And I didn't have any way to finance this. God was so gracious during that period because I never went without power or food or anything, without water. And the kids, one of them was still in diapers, and he didn't go without diapers. I don't know how. I mean, I'm being honest, I don't, because God just made a way. But my saga continues because I went back to the church, and the guy I was co-pastoring with, I said, um, I would, I feel that I've recovered enough in my body. I was waiting on my disability, and to be honest with you, 100% transparent, I had no money, and the only money I could get was to be able to go and preach at the church. And it wasn't much. I think I if I remember right, I only got $50, for preaching at the church, but that was something. I mean, when you're flat broke, that was it. And now I wouldn't take any money for it, but I had kids, and it is what it is. Um, anyway, I went back to the guy and I said I want to come back to church. I feel, able enough to be able to come back and preach the gospel. And I said I know there's a chair that I'm very comfortable in sitting in, and that I could bring up to the church, so I could have a place to sit. And I'm paraphrasing, but their response was, We don't need a cripple. You need to start praying about the will of God," and that that was it. So during this short period of time, I lost my ability to be able to work, and I felt like what I had left was the church and investing myself into the church, and that was gone too now, and because of my disability. And so I did something terrible. I was hurt, couldn't understand it, and didn't know why I had lost so much. So I started getting away from the Lord, to the point where I didn't want to hear anything about the Lord. And I compromised one at a time. I would say, all right, well, I'm not going to church right now, but I still love God. That's how it started off. I still love God, but I'm going to listen to this song. It's not going to hurt anything. And then it went to another song, then went to another movie. And before you know it, I was cussing like a sailor on leave. And it was absolutely horrible. So, but the house that I was in was the house that was from the man that the church was through. Okay, so this guy that I was co-pastoring with actually rented out the house to us, and we didn't have, like I said, we didn't have any money, and we didn't have the church anymore, and I felt like I had nothing more to lose, and then the rent comes due, and I had to sell my pickup truck to be able to pay the rent, and which was to that guy. And so everything was just falling apart, and I couldn't figure out why, and I did the wrong thing, and I blamed God for it, and I couldn't understand why God was allowing these things to happen. And so I chose a path, and it was the wrong path. I compromised, and I kept compromising, and eventually I moved out of that house and got into a place. It's probably about 50 miles north. There were some circumstances there that led to that moving, but it was, it happened anyway. I moved and got in an apartment, and when you think you couldn't lose anything else, hang on, it's all coming. Because then I lost my wife, and I felt like I'd lost my boys because divorce. And I'm not going to go into the details of the divorce because it's not relevant. But I felt like I lost the boys too, which are my entire world, because you go from being able to tuck them in at night to just seeing them every once in a while. It really takes a toll on you. So I felt like I lost. At that point, I was back at my mom's after the divorce, after a person told me they wanted out, and I couldn't eat. I couldn't do anything. I eventually got a studio apartment close to where I was living at, with the boys and my soon-to-be ex-wife now. And I remember being so tormented by my own grief and pain. I would just lay there and just stare at the ceiling because I didn't have anything else. I felt like I had lost everything, and I felt like I had nothing, and it was completely so difficult for me because, like I said, I couldn't eat. I couldn't even think clear. They actually wanted to put me in a mental home or a mental hospital for a while to be able to recover because I was so bad off. I was losing weight a lot, and I had actually taken a knife and cut myself. And at one point during all this, and I am so ashamed of it, but I was so mad at God, I looked at the Lord, I looked up and I said, I dropped an F-bomb on God. I said, F you, God. Because I felt, I felt like it was his fault that he was allowing this to happen. And anyway, I'm so ashamed of the fact that I said that, and I live with the guilt of saying that. I know the Lord forgave me now, but the thought of it drives me into, it will drive you crazy. So I can't work. I can't have the church. They didn't want me. And then I lost my family. And I was alone in a studio apartment by myself with no one around. See the kids every once in a while, but that was it. It was just me. And I'm going to fast forward a little bit, but I got a different apartment there, and the Lord is just so wonderful because he never gives up on us. I was laying there and I kept feeling God dealing with me, even after all that had happened and everything that I'd lost, or I felt like I'd lost. I kept feeling the Lord kind of dealing with me, so I made a deal with God. I said, I will read one scripture a day. That's it. That's all I'm giving you. And during that time, before I made that deal with the Lord, I was getting drunk all the time. I was like constantly going and getting some liquor, mainly tequila, some Corona, because like I said, I didn't feel like I had anything. Even in the other apartment, I was still getting drunk and Coke and rum and different things, trying to find a way to deal with it. But I did make that deal with God, and I said, Lord, I will read at least one scripture a day. And so I downloaded this app on my phone when all of it was still in its infancy. And it was a one a day kind of thing, app. And I said, all right, I'll do that. That way I can have a scripture each day to be able to read. And anyway, I started doing that. And, the Lord just kept dealing with me about going to church. Well, I said, Lord, I ain't got no money. I don't have any gas. I don't have a way to go to church. I said, Lord, if you give me $5, I will go to church. So the neighbor came and said, will you take me uptown? I'll give you gas money. And there was enough gas left over to go to church, and he gave me $5 to take him uptown, and there was enough gas still left over to go to church, so I went to church. The whole thing is, during that point in time, I lost so much, and I dealt with so much hurt and pain. Like I said, they wanted to put me in a mental hospital for recovery because I think they thought I was a hazard to myself, and because my anxiety was so high and I couldn't calm down, and I was very out of control. And yet, the Lord stood by me, and He kept dealing with me even after I had drank, even after I cursed God Himself, and even after all these things that I did that was inappropriate and that was wrong and in the face of God. But He still loved me. He still, for some reason, kept dealing with me. I didn't deserve it. I didn't deserve His grace. I didn't deserve His mercy. If I was Him, I wouldn't have had anything else to do with me, to be honest. But He did. And He kept dealing with me, to the point where I eventually started praying more, started getting right with the Lord, started coming back unto God. And I started, not so much, I started preaching again, but I didn't do it in the traditional fashion because I was still really hurt by the stuff that had happened with the church all those years ago. And so I would write up these sermons and post them at the post office, on the little bulletin board. And I actually still do that. But I wanted more. And then I started this channel. And the Lord has just been so gracious and so wonderful and blessed me. I still can't work. I live in constant pain because of my back. And I'm still alone. Me and my boys, they're now grown. But we have a great relationship, I feel like. They are absolutely wonderful. Very sweet kids. And I've come a long ways. This isn't a pity me thing, or, because there's a lot of people that have better testimonies. I'm just telling you mine because I thought maybe someone out there would get something from this. Being able to understand they're not alone. Everybody struggles. Everybody has hard times. God has met my needs. He's brought me to a different place than I've ever been. I'm closer with the Lord now, I feel like. And, yeah, that's where I'm at now. I skipped over quite a bit of it, but there was a lot of other heartache and different things that had happened. But that's the gist of it. I hope I didn't bore you. I mean, I know there's not a lot of shouting or, positive things in this. But the positive part of it is Jesus Christ still loved me throughout everything. I literally cursed Him. I literally turned my back on Him. I started drinking. I became a horrible person. And yet, He loved me anyway. And He brought me back to the throne. Reading that one scripture a day changed my life, because once the word gets inside of your head, it's in there, and it's wonderful to have it, because you'll be at Walmart or something, and that word, like just infiltrates you, like do unto others, or whatever. It's so wonderful to have. I hope you don't think I'm being boastful. I hope I didn't bore you. I'm coming to you as a humble man, just trying to express my testimony I love testimonies because I think it's so important that we tell each other what we've overcame in life, what the Lord has allowed us to overcome through His grace and through His love and His kindness and His faithfulness. Like I said, I didn't deserve it, not by any means, but He was faithful. I love each and every one of you. I hope and pray you got something out of this. This is my heart. I mean, I'm just pouring out, talking to you and pouring out my heart. I hope that there's something that will bless you. I'm very blessed right now. I am incredibly blessed. I can't explain to you how far and how much the Lord has blessed me and brought me from all those dark places. I love you. God bless you. Stick around. We're going to have another message coming out this Sunday. Wednesday is Pakistan. I love you. God bless you. And remember, all you have to do is call upon the name of the Lord anytime, any place, and He is right there for you.